Welcome back to The Price of Business. I'm your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business. This is going to be a best of radio segment for Price of Business TV. And delighted to have my good friend, Senator Rand Paul, on the program, a senator from Kentucky, running for the Republican nomination for president. And he's an old friend of mine and a relatively new friend of the program, but look forward to many more conversations in the months to come. Saw your State of the Union response to President Obama and thought you did a phenomenal job of capturing some of the glaring incongruency, inconsistencies in Obama's message and the reality in which we live in. I'm interested to get from you now what you thought were some of the things that should be troubling, I think, to Americans.
You know, one of the things that stood out as glaring in his State of the Union last night was he was bragging about bringing the deficit down by 3/4. And this is a president that's going to add more debt than all the previous presidents combined. The debt is going to go from $10 trillion to $20 trillion. When he came to office, the annual deficits ballooned, and now the annual deficits have gone down, but he's still adding to the debt. So it's somewhat deceitful at the very least for him to say, oh, he's bragging about how fiscally conservative he is when he's going to add more debt than all the previous presidents combined.
It makes you laugh. You know, it's one of those things where we're really big on disclosure and disclaimers in our culture today. And I really wanted, something on the bottom of the screen that says if his mouth is moving, he's lying. Because I heard a lot of incongruency again. I'm being polite when I say that.
Well, and he also went on to say that we have the strongest economy we've had in a generation. And I think that anybody who's out there getting out of college, looking for a job, trying to find a job that pays well enough to pay your student loans, and then anybody who's out there buying groceries knows that really real median household income has gone down about 10% in the last 15 years. It's not all his fault. But this is really a relatively weak market out there. If you look at labor participation, the percentage of people who are actually working, it's at the lowest that it's been since Jimmy Carter. So I think he wanted to preach a sense of optimism, but I think it's a false sense of optimism.
Right. It's easy to have 5% unemployment when another 5% that would normally be considered unemployed have given up.
Yeah, if you don't count all the people not working, it's easy to paint a rosy picture.
It really is. They just literally have thrown in the towel. To me, it's a really dire situation. So that was an inaugural address, a State of the Union rather. What would a Rand Paul inaugural address sound like? If a year from now, you were giving an inaugural address, how would that look?
The first thing I would do is on day one of a presidency is to undo all of the regulations that have been hampering business that have been done through executive order by President Obama. But also, even some Republican presidents have given us more regulations that have made it more difficult for us to compete with the world. I would undo all of those. And then I would go to Congress, and I would meet with all the leaders on the Hill, actually travel up to the Hill from the White House. I would invite them to the White House, and I would say, look, guys, the biggest thing hurting us is that we have the highest taxes in the world. Our corporate income tax is twice what it is in Canada, a little more than twice, and also twice the average in Europe. So we're losing businesses every day. I would say immediately, let's lower the tax rate. We got to lower the tax rate if we want to be competitive. I would say we've got to get rid of the regulatory burden, and I would actually send down to Congress a budget that balances.
Yeah, very good, very good. We got to take a quick break here. We're going to come back with more. I'd like to talk about how your strategy is going in pursuit of the White House, as well as some other issues. Talking to U.S. Senator Rand Paul. He's from Kentucky. We go way back. We go back to Young Conservatives of Texas days, and really delighted to be able to have him on the program. I want to remind you, best content here can be found over there at usdailyreview.com, and you're listening to and watching The Price of Business.